Hey everybody, Hugh here. Welcome back. Well, about time for another update from the courtyard here, and you can see the solar pump is working away in the pond. It's a very changeable day. We've had hailstones earlier on, and now we've blistering sunshine. So obviously we prefer much more of the latter than the former, but we have to take what we can get. With the way the rain has been recently and plenty of showers, the grass outside is getting long again, so we just have to wait for things to dry up. Because all of our plants are in pots, and particularly in the courtyard here, looking after them is fairly straightforward. We don't have to wait for the soil to dry out to move things around. But out in the potager at the allotments, things are very different. As you would have seen from the most recent update, yeah, it's just wet, isn't it? And I know many of our gardens are the same. And there we go. The cloud cover is coming. The wind is picking up. As you can see, there are no expensive weather vane there is flying around. But we have done some work, so it's worthwhile showing you. Going into a little bit of detail on what we've done in the courtyard area here, particularly in the staging area in the courtyard. I'll take you off the tripod, give you a better look, a better tour. We can go through it in a little bit of detail. Now, here we go. So you can see courtyard. First thing to note, when the sun is shining, the staging area gets it. And if you go back a couple of months ago, when we were looking at the courtyard area, I had been saying it was after Patrick's Day before the staging area gets full sun. So you can see for the next 6 months now, once we get into the afternoon time, we have that benefit of full sun, and it really is great. It makes all the difference to the plants and of course to the area itself. While the paving is still quite dark coloured and sort of maybe slightly mouldy, and that will pick up now and begin to dry out very, very well. The most noticeable difference from the staging area and the flowers on the staging area is that we're into sort of the later crop of daffodils and the early crop of tulips. So let me explain. If you jump back to last month's courtyard update, it would have been a lot of yellow narcissi, miniature daffodils, and even the ordinary daffodils themselves that we would have had in pots over the past few years. They've all mostly gone over, and we'll have a look at those in a few minutes, and I'll explain what I'm going to do with them. And so we're into the later flowering daffodils, if you like, and the ones that we planted in pots this year. And typically with the later ones, and that I find, you know, you're looking at ones that are more whitish, a little bit more dainty. I don't want to say they're less robust than the yellow, you know, tates that come up and the Jetfire and that sort of thing, but they are, you know, just a little bit different. Just a little bit, the likes of the minarets there and other varieties that I don't have the name of, and neither Judith nor I took the tag of. These paper white type ones have been in flower since the last video, and you can see their heads are hanging over, and some of them broken in some cases, but we've left them there because they are still a nice bit of colour. That heather was one I picked up the other day, full of flower, and sometimes we talk about winter flowering heathers, but in actual fact you can see we're very much in early, well, coming into mid-spring now actually, aren't we? And it's providing that lovely colour. We've set it into a terracotta pot. Used to be a stage where it was always make sure you clean your pots, but you can see with many of them we don't clean them too much, and it has a lovely bit of character to the bulbs and to the flowers in them. You can see there are some tulips, and this is a discovery that Judith made the other day because we had them coming on the tunnels. These are ones that our own tulips really didn't overwinter very well at all, the ones we've had over previous years, so we bought them ready-made as plants, and these are the white ones. And I had known they were in bud maybe last week. When Judith was in there the other day, she said, "You got to see these, they're fantastic." So you can see they really are main feature of the staging area here, and there's more coming on. There's some pink there, and there's some more in pots just here. Because we brought them out of the tunnel, and although we've had the tunnel windows open to let air in, they would be we are hardening them off, because what we don't want is them to come out of the tunnel very, very soft, and put them out, and then of course the hail hits them and the winds hit them and all the weather hits them there. So we have them out during the day, and then at night time we just pop them inside the front door, which is right beside the staging area here. But aren't they superb? You can see the blue muscari. While they've been in flower now, cheapers. I'd say a month, maybe 6 weeks. They flower a long time, and you can see some of the flowers are finished, but there's more colour on them. So we've left them there, and that's the way we do with a lot of the flowers. We move the ones that are maybe moving out of flower a little bit just to one side, and move the ones that are there's more muscari there just to show you, and ones that are fresher and coming on into more central points. And that's the way we rotate. It's not just like a monthly check and then things are either in or out. It's a moving around piece. And a little Lobritia, a variegated one we picked up along the way, just bursting into flower now. And you can see the white ornamental cabbage behind, and that's been around for quite a while. I actually thought that was up on our windowsill there, and I was like, nah, it's for throwing out, it's not going to survive. But we sort of left it just lower down just to see would that make a difference, and it really has. Some of the lower downs, they'll come on hopefully. Well, there's the likes of those tulips there, and now we packed them into the pot, so hopefully when they flower there'll be a nice burst of colour. I'm trying to capture that bee without swinging this around too much. You can see it's popping around there into the different flowers. It's like having a great time. And then shrub wise, you can see the azalea, which again I had out to one side. You know, the area for disposing of, when it's after producing loads of these red buds, and it's like, oh, that's quite ornamental there. And the forest flame, although the leaves aren't the healthiest, you love this fresh growth coming on. And can you see, instead of the rocking chair, you notice the change? This little stand was the one that I was talking about some weeks ago. It was in the potted jersey allotments, saved by one of our allotment neighbours. Thanks again, John and Jeanette. They were going to, someone was taking it in, Hugh's just discarded it there, so they saved it for me. So we brought it here. One of the roses that was not the colour that we thought it was, is been growing on. It looks like a climber or a rambler. Again, no name, because when we bought it, it was the wrong name was on it. And you can see we've trained it around, so it'll be a lovely feature when the rose comes into flower. Lovely strong colour and foliage on the rose itself. Judith was just saying we need more pots of these big daffodils, because we've only had 2. This is the better performing, and the other pot produced maybe 6 or 7 flowers, and that's because they are anything that has the wire meshing on them, you know, the 3 maybe 4 years old. And although we do feed them, I'd probably say 6 or 8 times in spring. Look at that, by the way, for flower. Here it can focus in. Oh, it's not focusing so well. My hands are fully occupied. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. And again, these bulbs have produced, I think, what did Judith say, 2 or 3 already, and we've been cutting them and bringing them in. So we need to get a couple of bigger pots of those daffodils. Pot pond. You can see the weeping willow beside it. Yeah, the willows, the little flowers have been meticulously picked off by Miss Judith as she passes by. She was telling me. I was wondering how the pond was remaining so clean. So there you go. And you can see one of the lily pads is up, as are some of the iris foliage. No sign of the goldfish there at the moment. As I said on the last video, it sees me coming and it just disappears. And then where our no expense spared weather mill is, turning air right on cue. Tell us whether it's windy. some more mid-sized staffs. Again, that's the sort of show you'd expect from that size pot, you know. And they'll be fed again today. They're already nicely watered, so a little bit of feeding. Half strength, I'd say, tomato feed around the pots, just to encourage them to grow for next year. So a good overview there. Dawn's Le Courtyard. These are the ones we said we'd come back to. So these are some of the Jetfire with the orange tubes on them, and then we have some of the little Tates there, all gone out of flower, so all going to be dead-headed. And again, feed them well, so the bulbs will be nice and big. These have all been in the pots at least a couple of years. This one probably a little bit more. Look at the moss in the pot, isn't it lovely? At least a couple more. So feed them, and let's see what they produce next year. Here's another Tate. It has given us good service. We thank you for it. The rhubarb pieces from the allotment, from the potager over the allotment, and there's some Camissia bulbs coming on. They're a lovely blue. So again, they'll be rotated in as the bigger pots of daffodils finish. So let me just bring you outside. Oh, just worthwhile showing. Yeah. Some of the ivies and pots looking very well. Again, they have been rotated back into action after being put down on the ground in that area, just to give them a bit of shelter, but with the weather getting better. And the ongoing saga of what we're going to dispose of or not dispose of, and you can see the area, the disposal area is reasonably large, because some of these bulbs have come up, but they just haven't produced that many flowers. So they're going to be recycled either to the allotment, or the bulbs will be taken out and popped under the space under the hedge that we saw, because they're just not good value for the space they take up. And all of the tulips, here's the ballerina tulips that looked so smashing a couple of years ago, they have either been half eaten or the bulbs now at this stage are just too small to produce. So it's no harm just to show you the yin and the yang, what's working well, and then when they don't work well, then what do we do? Some other greenery just outside the courtyard area there. So there you go, an in-depth tour of the courtyard, and of course we'll see it through the month, but we will come back to it over the coming weeks as we're looking at other aspects here. We'll just be touching base on how things are. Thanks as always for watching. Thanks for liking and subscribing. If you've gotten this far, of course, I should always mean to say this at the start of it, give me the thumbs up if you can, and of course appreciate all the comments that you have down below as well. Anyway, hope you're very well. Oh, by the way, I see some of you are actually doing some versions of, you know, pot collections and pots together. So leave comments below so others can actually leave comments or links to your videos as well if you want, because I'm terrible at leaving links. But anyway, just as other people are inspired to do their work. Anyway, listen, all the very best there. Look after yourselves. Have a lovely week ahead if you can, and let's hope it stays as dry as possible. God bless. Bye bye for now.